You clicked on this video for a reason. Maybe your doctor mentioned your A1C at your last visit, and you left the office with that familiar knot in your stomach. Maybe you're already managing diabetes, and you're tired of feeling like every single decision, every meal, every drink, every snack is a battle you might lose. Or maybe someone you love is going through this, and you're trying to help them find something that actually works without adding more pills, more side effects, more complexity to an already complicated life. Whatever brought you here today, I want you to know one thing right away. You're in exactly the right place. What we're going to talk about in this video is something deceptively simple. 5 teas, just 5 specific teas, that when consumed consistently and correctly, have shown remarkable results in improving insulin sensitivity, lowering fasting blood sugar, and yes, even reducing A1C levels over time. I know that might sound too easy. I know you've probably heard a lot of promises before, but stay with me, because the science behind what I'm about to share is genuinely compelling, and by the end of this video, you're going to have something you can actually start doing tomorrow morning. Now here's something I want you to keep in mind as we go through this. There is one question I'm going to answer at the very end that I think will surprise most people watching. Most seniors I talk to assume that the biggest threat to their blood sugar control is what they eat. But what if I told you that what you drink might be doing even more damage? And more importantly, what if swapping just one beverage a day could be the single most impactful change you make this year? Hold that thought, we'll come back to it. I've spent years walking alongside people who are living with diabetes or pre-diabetes, and I've done an enormous amount of research, reading through hundreds of clinical studies, digging into peer-reviewed journals, and most importantly, listening to real people talk about what has and hasn't worked for them. This video is the result of all of that work. I didn't want to just give you a list. I wanted to give you the full picture, the science, the stories, the practical guidance, so that when you walk away from this, you feel genuinely equipped, not just informed. Before we dive in, if you're finding this useful, take 2 seconds right now, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video, and give this a thumbs up. It genuinely helps more people like you find this content. And drop a comment below. Tell me what country you're watching from. I'd love to know where our community is tuning in from around the world. Hold on a second. Before we go any further, I've put something together for you. It's called the Glucose Paradox. It's a free guide on blood sugar and diabetes, and you can grab it for free through the link in the description. I'm telling you this now because I want you to finish this video with a concrete tool in your hands. To get it right away, just click the link in the description, head over to my site, and drop your email. You'll receive the guide in your inbox a few minutes later. But I don't want to take up any more of your time. Let's get back to the video. Let me start by telling you about a woman named Gloria. She's 67, lives in North Carolina, and was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes about 6 years ago. For most of that time, she did everything her doctor told her. She cut back on bread and pasta. She walked 30 minutes every morning. She took her medication faithfully. And yet her A1C was stubbornly hovering around 8.1. Not terrible, but not where she wanted to be. What nobody had ever asked Gloria about was what she was drinking. Every morning, a large sweet tea, the southern kind, made with 2 heaping spoons of sugar. Every afternoon, a diet soda, because she'd switched thinking it was safer. Every evening, another glass of sweet tea with dinner. When Gloria and I first started talking about this, she was genuinely shocked. She hadn't thought of her drinks as part of the problem, because they weren't food, exactly. They were just beverages. But here's the thing about blood sugar. Your body doesn't distinguish between sugar in a meal and sugar in a drink. In fact, liquid sugar often hits your bloodstream faster, causing sharper, more damaging spikes. And those diet sodas, research increasingly suggests that artificial sweeteners can still trigger an insulin response and may disrupt gut bacteria in ways that worsen glucose metabolism over time. Gloria replaced her afternoon soda and her evening sweet tea with 2 of the teas I'm about to share with you. Within 3 months, her A1C had dropped to 7.4. Her fasting glucose came down by over 20 points. She told me it was the first time in 6 years that she felt like she was actually winning, Now, before I walk you through these 5 teas one by one, I want to set one foundational rule that everything else depends on. Every single one of these teas must be consumed without sweetener of any kind. No sugar, no honey, no agave syrup, no artificial sweeteners, not even a drop of stevia, if you can help it. I know that might sound hard, especially if you're used to sweetened drinks, but the metabolic benefits we're going to talk about are completely negated the moment you add anything sweet to the cup. The good news is that most people find their palate adjusts within 2 to 3 weeks, and after that, they actually start to enjoy the natural flavors. Keep that in mind as we go. The first tea on our list is one that most people haven't heard of, even though it has a history going back centuries in China. It's called oolong tea. Think of oolong as sitting beautifully between green tea and black tea. It's partially fermented, which means it has a richer, slightly toasty flavor, but it also retains many of the beneficial compounds found in less processed teas. What makes oolong particularly interesting for people with diabetes is its demonstrated ability to slow the absorption of carbohydrates in the digestive tract. Here's how that works in practical terms. When you eat a meal containing carbohydrates, bread, rice, potatoes, fruit, your body begins breaking those carbs down into glucose almost immediately. That glucose enters your bloodstream, your pancreas releases insulin to manage it, and depending on how much glucose is flooding the system at once, you may experience a significant spike. Over time, those repeated spikes are part of what drives insulin resistance and worsens A1C. Oolong contains polyphenols, specifically a group called theaflavins, that inhibit enzymes in your digestive system, responsible for breaking down carbohydrates. Less rapid breakdown means slower, more gradual glucose entry into the bloodstream. Instead of a spike, you get a gentle rise. Instead of a crash, you get stability. Several studies have shown that people with type 2 diabetes who drank oolong tea consistently experienced meaningful reductions in fasting blood glucose levels. The recommended approach is 1 to 3 cups per day, ideally consumed before or with meals. Brewing it is simple. Use water that's hot but not quite boiling, around 185 to 195 degrees Fahrenheit, and steep for 2 to 3 minutes. The flavor is mild and slightly nutty, and most people find it much easier to drink unsweetened than they expected. Mart beld ende 5 to 1 den. The second tea is one you almost certainly already have in your kitchen, but you may have thought of it only as a remedy for sleeplessness or an upset stomach. Chamomile tea. And yes, it does help with sleep, and that's actually more relevant to your blood sugar than you might realize. But let's start with the direct metabolic effects. Chamomile contains a group of compounds called flavonoids, and among these, one in particular, called apigenin, has been extensively studied for its effects on blood sugar regulation. Apigenin appears to help cells become more responsive to insulin. In other words, it supports insulin sensitivity at the cellular level. When your cells are more responsive to insulin, your pancreas doesn't have to work as hard. Less insulin is needed to process the same amount of glucose, and the whole system functions more efficiently. Several clinical trials have shown that participants with type 2 diabetes who drank chamomile tea 3 times per day after meals saw statistically significant reductions in A1C levels over the course of about 8 weeks. Now here's the sleep connection that most people overlook. Poor sleep is one of the most underestimated drivers of blood sugar dysregulation. When you don't sleep well, when you wake frequently, or you don't get enough deep sleep, your body produces more cortisol, the stress hormone. Elevated cortisol directly raises blood glucose. It's one of the reasons why people with chronic sleep problems so often struggle to control their diabetes no matter how carefully they eat. Chamomile tea, when consumed in the evening, has well-documented mild sedative effects that improve sleep onset and quality. So you're getting a double benefit: the direct flavonoid action on glucose metabolism and the indirect benefit of better sleep and lower cortisol the following day. 2 to 3 cups per day is ideal, and the warm, gentle flavor makes it one of the easiest teas on this list to make a daily habit. Let me tell you about a man named Robert, 71, from Arizona. Robert had been struggling with sleep for years, waking at 2 or 3 in the morning, lying awake for hours, and starting his day already exhausted. His blood sugar readings first thing in the morning were consistently high, which puzzled him because he hadn't eaten anything overnight. When we talked about the cortisol-sleep-glucose connection, something clicked for him. He started drinking chamomile tea every night after dinner, and within about 10 days he noticed he was sleeping more soundly. His morning fasting glucose dropped by an average of 14 points over the next 6 weeks. He told me he wished someone had told him about this years ago. The third tea on our list is one that smells so good it almost feels like cheating: cinnamon tea. And the science behind why cinnamon is so powerful for blood sugar is genuinely fascinating. Cinnamon contains compounds, most notably one called cinnamaldehyde, along with a group of polyphenols that appear to mimic the action of insulin in the body. What does that mean exactly? Normally, insulin acts as a kind of key that unlocks cells to allow glucose to enter. When you're insulin resistant, those locks have gotten harder to open. The key still works, but it takes more effort, more insulin to accomplish the same job. Certain compounds in cinnamon interact with the insulin receptors on cell surfaces in a way that makes those receptors more responsive. They essentially make the lock easier to open. This is why numerous studies have shown that cinnamon supplementation and cinnamon tea consumed regularly can meaningfully improve fasting glucose levels and reduce post-meal spikes. There's also a practical benefit that I hear about constantly from people managing diabetes, and that's the craving issue. After a meal, especially one with carbohydrates, the desire for something sweet can feel overwhelming. This is partly a blood sugar response and partly a conditioned habit, and it's one of the biggest obstacles to sustained dietary improvement for most seniors with diabetes. Cinnamon tea, after a meal, satisfies a significant portion of that craving without raising blood sugar at all. The warmth, the sweetness of the aroma, the spice, it signals to your brain that the meal is complete and something satisfying has followed it. One critical note here: not all cinnamon is the same. There are two main types widely available: cassia cinnamon, which is the common variety found in most American grocery stores and baking supplies, and Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes called true cinnamon, which originates from Sri Lanka. Cassia contains relatively high levels of a compound called coumarin, which in large amounts can stress the liver over time. Cassiolin cinnamon contains negligible coumarin and is considered significantly safer for daily long-term consumption. When you're buying cinnamon tea or making your own, specifically look for Ceylon on the label. It's available online and at most health food stores. The fourth tea might be one you've seen at your local cafe and wondered about: yerba mate. It comes from South America, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and it has been consumed there for centuries as a morning drink, a social ritual, and a source of sustained energy. In recent years, researchers have begun looking at it seriously as a metabolic health tool, and what they've found is impressive. Yerba mate is extraordinarily rich in polyphenols, compounds we've talked about throughout this video as key drivers of improved glucose metabolism. But it also contains saponins, a distinct class of plant chemicals that have been shown to improve cholesterol profiles and reduce inflammation. And inflammation, as many of you know, is deeply intertwined with insulin resistance. When your body is in a chronic inflammatory state, as it often is with diabetes and metabolic syndrome, cells become less responsive to insulin, blood sugar rises, and the cycle worsens. Yerba mate's anti-inflammatory action helps interrupt that cycle at the biochemical level. There's also the energy factor, and for many seniors, this might be the most immediately noticeable effect. Yerba mate contains caffeine, but not in isolation. It also contains two other compounds, theobromine and theophylline, that modulate how your body processes and uses that caffeine. The result is a cleaner, more sustained energy boost without the sharp spike and crash that most people experience from coffee. Many people I've spoken with who've switched their morning coffee to yerba mate report feeling more alert and focused throughout the morning, without the jitteriness, the afternoon energy dip, or the elevated heart rate that coffee can sometimes cause. For anyone managing diabetes who has also been told to watch their cardiovascular health, which is most people in that situation, this is a meaningful advantage. Let me share another story with you. Her name is Dolores, 64, from Wisconsin. Dolores had been a lifelong coffee drinker, 3 or 4 cups a day, always with cream and 2 sugars. When she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, she knew the sugar in her coffee had to go, but she found drinking it black almost unbearable. She tried switching to herbal teas and felt like she'd lost something important from her mornings. Then she tried yerba mate. She told me it was the first time since her diagnosis that she didn't dread waking up, because she had something she genuinely looked forward to. Over the 3 months after she made the switch, her fasting glucose averaged 18 points lower than it had been. Her doctor noted improvement in her LDL cholesterol at her next checkup as well. A simple change to what she was drinking in the morning. That was all it took. The 5th tea on our list is one that most Americans have never tried, and I saved it for last because the research behind it is the most striking of anything we've discussed. It's called mulberry leaf tea, and it comes from the leaves of the same tree that produces mulberries, the dark purple berries you may have seen or grown yourself. Mulberry leaves contain a compound called deoxynitromycin, or DNJ, which is one of the most potent natural inhibitors of alpha-glucosidase enzymes ever identified. Now, alpha-glucosidase is the enzyme in your intestinal lining that breaks down complex carbohydrates into simple sugars for absorption. You may have heard of a class of diabetes medications called alpha-glucosidase inhibitors. Acarbose is one example. Mulberry leaf essentially does something similar through entirely natural means. When these enzymes are inhibited, carbohydrates are broken down and absorbed much more slowly, blunting the post-meal glucose spike dramatically. The clinical data on this is remarkable. In controlled studies, participants who consumed mulberry leaf tea before or with a carbohydrate-rich meal showed post-meal blood glucose readings that were as much as 77 milligrams per deciliter lower compared to control groups. That's not a small effect. That's a clinically significant reduction in one of the most damaging aspects of living with diabetes, the repeated, sharp post-meal spikes that damage blood vessels, nerves, and organs over time. Beyond glucose control, mulberry leaves are rich in antioxidants, particularly a compound called rutin, that have been shown to protect the nervous system from oxidative damage. This is especially relevant for people managing diabetes, where nerve damage or peripheral neuropathy is a serious long-term complication. The protective antioxidant action of mulberry leaf tea means that alongside the blood sugar benefits, you may also be offering your nervous system an extra layer of defense. Mulberry leaf tea is increasingly available at health food stores and online. It has a mild, slightly grassy taste, not unlike green tea, and most people find it easy to drink unsweetened, 1 to 2 cups per day, ideally before your largest meal, or before any meal you know will be carbohydrate heavy, is the recommended approach based on current research. So there we are, all 5 teas. Let me bring everything together for you, because I want this to be as practical and usable as possible. Oolong tea, 1 to 3 cups daily before meals, to slow carbohydrate absorption and reduce fasting glucose. Chamomile tea, 2 to 3 cups daily, especially in the evening after dinner, to improve insulin sensitivity and support the restorative sleep your blood sugar desperately needs. Cinnamon tea, Ceylon cinnamon specifically after meals, to mimic insulin action at the cellular level and tame the post-meal craving for sweets. Yerba mate in the morning as your primary energy drink, replacing coffee to provide sustained mental clarity alongside polyphenol-driven improvements in glucose metabolism and cholesterol. And mulberry leaf tea, 1 to 2 cups before carbohydrate-heavy meals, to blunt the post-meal spike in the most powerful natural way currently known to science. All of them unsweetened. All of them ideally made from loose-leaf or high-quality organic sources, rather than mass-produced tea bags, which can contain pesticide residues and significantly lower concentrations of the active compounds we've been discussing. Quality matters here. And now I want to come back to the question I posed at the very beginning of this video. Most people assume their biggest blood sugar challenge is what they eat. And yes, food matters enormously. But for many seniors with diabetes, perhaps for you, what you're drinking is doing damage that no amount of careful eating can fully compensate for. A single glass of sweet tea or regular soda can spike blood sugar by 50 to 80 points within 30 minutes. A diet soda, taken daily, can gradually impair your gut microbiome's ability to regulate glucose signaling. The cumulative effect of year after year of drinking the wrong beverages is profound and largely invisible until it shows up in your A1C. This is why I want to leave you with one concrete challenge. Just one. For the next 30 days, I want you to replace one sweetened or artificially sweetened beverage per day with one of the 5 teas we talked about today. 1. Not all 5 at once. Not a complete dietary overhaul. Just one substitution, every single day, for 30 days. Track your fasting glucose readings, if you have a monitor. Pay attention to how you feel in the mornings. Watch what happens to your energy levels in the afternoons. And at the end of those 30 days, come back and tell me what changed. I genuinely mean that. I read your comments, and there is nothing that makes me happier than hearing stories like Gloria's, like Robert's, like Dolores's from this community. You've been managing this condition with courage and effort, often without enough support and without enough practical, actionable guidance. I hope today changed that, even a little. The solutions don't always have to be complicated. Sometimes they start with what's in your cup. And hey, if you made it all the way here, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Hit the like button to let me know this was worth your time. And leave a comment below, tell me what country you're watching from. Seriously, I read every single one, and it means a lot to see how far this community reaches. You know what the problem is with diabetes and high blood sugar? Most people find out way too late, and by the time they do, they have no idea where to even start. That's why I decided to create a free guide. It's called The Glucose Paradox, and inside, you'll find everything you wish you'd known sooner. I'll explain how blood sugar actually works, and why your body sometimes reacts the exact opposite way you'd expect. That's why it's called a paradox. I've also included concrete habits you can start changing right now, even if you know zero about nutrition or medicine. It's free, you can download it in a second, and it might be the single most useful thing you do for your health today. Just click the link in the description to head to the site, drop your email, and get the guide sent straight to you. Don't put this off.